In this video, you're going to learn how to build a local audience for your gigs, concerts, and events. The last few years, everything has been about going online, right? But good news, we're finally having shows back in person. It's so exciting. The problem is though, what about when you've got a show and no one shows up? This is why you need to build a local audience. So I've got great news for you because today we are going to learn how to pack the house. Hi, I'm Fiona, and I help performing artists just like you to master online business so you can make more money without burning out or wasting time. Just like this client did, making over $5,000 at her last show and selling out her concerts there, her band's performances locally and nationwide with the tips I'm going to be sharing with you today. Our topic today, how to build a local audience. And this is important, not just to get those people into the seats for your performance, but also to book more gigs. Because venues are more likely to hire you as a new artist if you have a proven track record of selling out shows. I remember exactly how awful it was to be on stage, right, in a show. It was a production of Into the Woods, and realize that there were more people on stage than there were in the audience. I mean, Into the Woods is a big cast, but it's not that big. And at the time, I really thought it was the venue's responsibility. I thought it was their problem and they had dropped the ball. Well, for sure, if you've got a venue with a built-in audience, that is fantastic. It makes your job easier. But it's the artist's job too. And in the case of that production of Into the Woods, if all of us on stage had actually made an effort to market the shows ourselves, we would have had a full house. The problem is, though, that too many artists, myself included at that time, are afraid of being too spammy, of being too salesy, of pushing their performances on their friends. And this is something that's got to change. You have to be so excited about your performance that you can't stop talking about it. Let's start by focusing in on one person at a time. This is something that works really well when we're talking about building a local audience. Now the thing is, it actually also works when we're talking about building an online audience. In the beginning, it's really about building relationship one person at a time. Make sense? Now the great thing about doing this in person is that you actually are in person. What a great way to connect with one person at a time. And then as you expand, one organization at a time. This is something that my client does all the time really, really well, is that she connects with local community groups in different areas that she's traveling to. Next, work on any limiting beliefs that are getting in the way of you putting yourself out there. This was in my way for years and years. Despite having an email list of 1,000 people, I was always scared to send out an email. What are you afraid of? Being too pushy, being too spammy, making your friends get annoyed with you. Now, while we hope your friends and family truly are your fans, they're not necessarily your fans. They're not necessarily the people that your emails are supposed to be reaching. Does that make sense? Now, on top of this, you may not actually be asking directly. You may think that you're asking, but you're not actually asking. Recently, I had a conversation with a close friend. By the end of the conversation, I said, "So are you asking for my help?" And she said, "What? Yes! Isn't that what I've been doing this whole time?" And the truth was, no, she actually had not asked me directly for help. I had to infer it, and only because I knew her so well. So in your case, you may think that when you say, "I've got a show coming up," that that's a direct invitation to somebody to come to see your show, but actually it's not. You really want to say, "Hey, Mary Jane, hey, Mom, hey, whoever it is, I've got a show coming up and it would mean the world to me if you came," or "I've got a show coming up and I think you would really enjoy it. Would you like to come?" Right? Too often, I see performing artists think that people aren't interested in their shows when the fact is that they didn't even know the show was happening. Okay, so now that you've worked through your limiting beliefs, it's time to create synergy between your online and your offline marketing. Just because we're talking about building a local audience doesn't mean that social media doesn't play into the picture. You can be working relationships with local cafes and coffee shops and clothing stores simply by saying, "Hey, I'm gonna wear your dress at this show and I'll be tagging you on Instagram. Can we work something out here where you promote the show as well?" This is creative thinking. And so often what happens is that you'll have an idea like that and then you won't act on it because you'll think, oh, who am I to have such a great idea? It is a great idea. Act on it. Nowadays, with social media, it's so much easier to actually directly connect with people as well, right? You don't even have to pick up the phone. You can send somebody a Facebook message or a DM. What I mean by somebody is, for example, a local organization that is totally into the kind of performing that you do. With that client that I was talking about, her band is all about French and Russian music. So she reaches out directly to the French and Russian community groups, embassies, meetups, etc., in every location that she goes to all over the country and abroad. You can do the same thing. You just have to start thinking about, okay, who would be really into this genre of music, this type of performing, this kind of event, and then actually reach out to them. And yes, you can use the phone, but you can also use social media. All right, what should you do next? Well, how about building that email list that I was talking about earlier? Because once you've got an email list going, you can actually segment it into the different cities or markets that you're performing at. So everybody on your list doesn't have to get that email saying, come to my show in Brooklyn, or come to my show in La Jolla. Only the people that are in that city and the neighboring cities would get those emails. Now, here's the thing about email lists. It can be scary, and I know it can be scary to build that email list. It can be scary to send emails. It can be scary to ask for emails. How do I know? Because it used to be scary for me. In fact, it's no longer scary for me to ask people to join my emails, but it is still scary for me to actually press send. In fact, I'll even share about this on my Instagram stories and show myself pressing send on an email blast just to inspire other people who feel scared about doing it to do it anyway. So if you don't already have an email list, now is the time to start, and it absolutely will help you to build that local audience. Now, would you like a video about how to grow your email list once you've started it? Or maybe you've already started it and how to get even more people onto your email list? Let me know in the comments and I'll make one for you. But I want to leave you something right now that's going to help you with both any lingering anxiety about spamming your friends or spamming your list, and to actually grow the list itself. And that is to become a community resource. So instead of only putting out emails to promote yourself and your shows, actually talk about local events in the community. Make your email list, especially to that segment, because right now we're talking about building your local audience. Make the people on your email list actually look forward to your emails because you're going to tell them about things going on in their city that they would love to hear about. That can be local events happening, it can be other bands or other entertainers that you think your audience would enjoy. And then just imagine how great that band, those other artists would feel knowing that you're shouting them out, and the kind of reciprocity and goodwill that that builds, right? And then understand that just like with your social media, it can't just be, look at me, here I am. People will stop opening your emails. They're boring. You've got to create deeper connection. And a great place to do that is in email because you have more time, a longer bunch of text, right, than you would in an Instagram caption. So there's an opportunity there to really let your audience get to know you better. Share your journeys, share your process, share your highs and lows. Make yourself very human because you are human, and that's what other humans relate to. All right. Was this interesting? Was this useful? Let me know in the comments, and definitely hop on over to Facebook and Instagram, particularly the free Facebook group. I made it especially for the entrepreneurial-minded performing artist, and I go live in there every Friday with high-value trainings based on topics the group chose. So if you found this valuable, then come on and join me over there as well. So now you know how to build a local audience, but there's another skill you need to know as well, which is how to promote your shows. Right? Goes all the way back to that. I don't want to be sleazy and spammy, but you need to know how to actually promote your shows. And that's exactly what I talk about in this video, how to promote your shows. So I encourage you to watch that one next. And as always, go out into the world and let your light shine. You deserve to be heard, and the world deserves to hear you.